Sometimes, what stays with you is not a scene from a movie or a line of dialogue, but a small, quiet image. A man who could be anywhere in the world, choosing instead to sit alone on a park bench with a simple sandwich and a cup of coffee, looking more like a tired neighbor than a global star. For many people, that image of Keanu Reeves, unshaven, wearing a worn jacket, eating in silence, raised a kind of gentle question. How does someone so famous remain so ordinary? This story is not about secrets from a celebrity's life, nor about hidden scandals or dramatic plot twists. It is a reflective piece, inspired by his public presence and the way people talk about him, used as a mirror to explore something we all struggle with: how to stay grounded when life, in big or small ways, tries to pull us away from ourselves. Fame, in this story, is not only about Hollywood or red carpets. Fame can be any moment when the world suddenly pays attention to you. It might be a promotion at work, a sudden burst of followers online, being the successful one in your family, or simply finding yourself in a place where people expect more of you than you ever expected from yourself. What does it mean to stay the same person when everything around you insists you should become someone else? Imagine, for a moment, a younger version of Keanu. Not the man we know now, but a quieter, more uncertain version, still trying to understand who he is. He has experienced loss, distance, and instability early in life. He has tasted loneliness long before he ever tasted fame. He has seen how quickly people can disappear, how unpredictable life can be. When someone like that arrives in a world of lights and cameras, something interesting happens. The world sees a rising star. But he remembers the boy who moved from place to place, the teenager who found a strange kind of comfort in simple routines, showing up on time, learning lines, practicing, doing his job, going home. This difference between how the world sees you and how you see yourself is the first quiet conflict. It happens to many of us. One day, we are just ourselves. The next day, we are the talented one, the pretty one, the successful one, the one who made it. People might not say it out loud, but you feel it in their tone, their questions, their expectations. You start hearing words like should more often. You should upgrade your lifestyle. You should act differently now. You should think bigger. You should stop doing that old simple stuff. It doesn't fit you anymore. The world begins to build a version of you that looks like a statue. Smooth edges, no confusion, no insecurity. Just a clean, polished image. But inside, you're still the person who remembers sitting on the floor with friends, laughing over cheap food. You're still the person who once looked at the future and saw nothing certain, only questions. You're still the person who knows what it feels like to have almost nothing. This gap between your inner life and outer image can break people, but it can also become a place to practice discipline. Not the loud kind of discipline we associate with motivational speeches and extreme routines, but the quiet, stubborn discipline of staying human. Keanu Reeves has often appeared in public stories as a kind of paradox, a global icon who seems almost allergic to behaving like one. He takes the subway, gives his seat to strangers, talks to people without rushing them, and offers gentle respect even when he doesn't need to. He avoids the noise that many people are drawn to. When we look at these moments from afar, it's tempting to label them as humility or kindness, and then move on. But beneath those small acts lies something deeper, a habit of remembering. To stay grounded, he seems to remember three things: where he came from, what he cannot control, what actually matters in a life that ends. These three memories form a kind of inner discipline that has nothing to do with early alarms or strict diets, and everything to do with how you move through the world. First, remembering where you came from. Fame tends to erase backgrounds. Once someone reaches a certain level of success, people like to assume their life has been a smooth climb. But Keanu's public story, in broad strokes, is full of instability, grief, and solitary struggles. Without repeating details we all already know or speculating about what we don't, it's enough to say this: he has met loss face to face. When you live with that kind of history, something changes in you. You stop being impressed so easily. Not because you are cold, but because you know how temporary everything is. You know that applause ends, trends shift, and people move on. You realize that the world's approval is like weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, always changing. If you do not remember this, fame can make you feel like you are the weather itself, as if your value rises and falls with the noise around you. But if you quietly recall the parts of your life that had nothing to do with attention, sitting in a small apartment, sharing jokes with one friend, cooking something simple, walking alone at night, then fame becomes less threatening. It is no longer your foundation. It is just another circumstance. Keanu's groundedness, as many observe, seems to come from not letting his public identity erase his private understanding of himself. He is not just a star. He is also a human being who has experienced pain, who knows the weight of silence, who values small gestures because he knows how large they can feel when you are alone. For you, this may mean something simple: remembering the times you were unnoticed, the relationships that mattered before you achieved anything, the people who loved you when you had nothing to offer except your presence. When life wants to upgrade you into something shinier, recalling your own ordinary history can act as an anchor. You are not your highlight reel. You are the whole story. Second, remembering what you cannot control. Fame often creates the illusion of control. When your face is everywhere, when people quote your lines and watch your interviews, it can seem like you are steering the whole world toward your name. But if you look closely at how Keanu presents himself, there is a kind of gentle distance from all that. He works hard at his craft, he is present on set, he respects his teammates, but he does not spend his energy trying to bend public opinion into a perfect shape. He appears to accept a simple truth. You cannot control who likes you, who misunderstands you, who forgets you, or who turns you into an icon. You can only control how you show up, again and again, in the spaces you are given. This awareness is a form of discipline because our instincts pull us in another direction. When people notice us, we start to manage their perception. We check how we appear, what they're saying, how we are trending. We might even start to shave off parts of ourselves to fit what we think they want. It's like building a house on a moving river. Keanu's approach, as seen from the outside, suggests another path. Let go of that river. Focus instead on the ground beneath your feet, your work, your values, the way you treat people, the promises you keep, the small rituals that keep you honest, arriving on time, learning, listening more than you speak, helping when no one is watching. This doesn't make the noise disappear. There will still be gossip, admiration, misunderstandings, and labels. But when your discipline is to accept that you cannot choreograph the world, you stop spending your life in a performance. You return to the modest, repeated actions that carry meaning even when no one is clapping. For us, in quieter lives, this might look like detaching from our need for constant validation. It might mean posting something online and then letting it go, instead of watching every response. It might mean doing good work even when others ignore it, studying a little more even when no one praises you, being loyal to friends even when they are not impressive in the eyes of others. This is not glamorous discipline. It is the kind that grows in the dark, unseen. But it is the only kind that survives when the spotlight moves on. Third, remembering what actually matters in a life that ends. One reason Keanu draws so much respect from strangers is that he often speaks simply and honestly about mortality, not in an abstract or showy way, but with a quiet acceptance that one day we all leave. When you carry that truth close, success changes shape. Fame begins to look like an experience, not an achievement. Something that happens during your life, not something you are. In interviews, he has been known to answer questions about death and meaning with humble sincerity, focusing on the people who love us and the people we love. These are not complex philosophical systems. They are direct reflections of someone who understands that, beneath all the noise, connection is what remains. The discipline here is subtle: to live, each day, with the awareness that life is fragile without becoming bitter or indifferent. To let the knowledge that time is limited guide you toward kindness and presence rather than speed and accumulation. When you know, deeply, that none of this lasts, your priorities shift. Sudden attention feels less like a crown and more like passing weather. You begin to ask different questions. Not how big can I become, but how true can I be? Not how do I stay on top, but how do I stay myself? Not how do I get more, but what do I actually need to live well? From the outside, people notice small signs of these priorities in Keanu's choices. The way he respects crew members, the way he shares earnings, the way he seems content with relatively simple pleasures, the way he keeps some parts of his life away from a spotlight. He does not perform his entire humanity for consumption. There is a kind of dignity in that restraint, a belief that not everything needs to be visible to be real. For us, that might be the most reachable lesson. We might never know the pressure of worldwide fame, but we do know the pressure to display our lives, to show every joy, every achievement, every intimate moment, as proof that we are living well. But perhaps the quiet discipline that keeps a person grounded is the same whether on a global stage or in a small apartment, knowing which parts of your life are treasures, not content. Beneath all of this, memory of where you came from, clarity about what you can't control, and awareness of what truly matters, there is one more layer: daily practice. People often imagine inner strength as a sudden realization, a breakthrough moment where everything changes. But groundedness is not a single choice. It is a pattern. Keanu did not become Keanu, the humble icon, because of one subway ride or one kind gesture caught on camera. Those moments are just glimpses. The real work likely happened in thousands of unseen decisions. Choosing to listen instead of dominate a conversation. Choosing to walk instead of being driven when there was time to breathe. Choosing to say no to projects or environments that did not sit right with his values. Choosing to treat each person, from co-star to assistant, as deserving of respect. None of these choices are dramatic. They are quiet, even boring, in isolation. But over the years, they shape the person people think they know. The same is true for you. You may want to remain kind in a harsh office, authentic in a judgmental family, honest in a competitive industry, or grateful in a world that tells you to always want more. You will not succeed through intentions alone. You will need habits, little anchors that bring you back to yourself. Maybe it's walking alone for a few minutes each day without your phone. Maybe it's journaling about what you're grateful for before you sleep. Maybe it's reminding yourself of one person who loved you before you achieved anything. Maybe it's setting a rule: no matter how tired or successful I become, I will not speak down to others. These small acts look irrelevant when you compare them to the big forces of the world: status, money, beauty, approval. But if you repeat them, they become a form of discipline as real as any training regimen. You are, slowly, deciding what kind of person you will be when life becomes too loud. When people say, fame couldn't change him, they often mean, he did not become arrogant or distant. But the deeper truth is that fame did change him, just as every experience in life changes us. Loss changes us. Love changes us. Success changes us. Aging changes us. The difference is not whether we are changed, but how. Keanu's journey, as far as the public can respectfully see, suggests a particular direction of change. Instead of fame lifting him away from ordinary human experience, it seems to have pushed him deeper into it. He does not live as if he is above others. He appears to live as if he is, still and always, one of them. That is the essence of groundedness. Not denying your blessings, not pretending you are smaller than you are, but refusing to forget that, underneath titles and roles, you are simply human, no more, no less. You still hurt when you lose someone. You still feel lonely on certain nights. You still find peace in small routines. You still crave genuine connection over admiration. And you still, in the end, must answer to your own conscience when no one is looking. If there is a lesson to draw from this reflective story inspired by Keanu Reeves, it is not that we should all become like him, nor that fame is meaningless. Recognition can open doors, fund good projects, create opportunities to help others. It is not evil in itself, but it is unstable. And anything unstable cannot be the center of your life. What considered the center, quietly and firmly, is your discipline, your commitment to remain human in whatever environment you find yourself, to remember where you came from, to accept what you cannot control, to live by what actually matters in a life that will one day end, to build daily habits that hold you in place when external forces pull hard. If, one day, the world points at you and says, "You've changed," you will know that the important part of you has not been lost, only refined. You will know that you did not trade your soul for a shinier costume. You will know that, like the man on the park bench with a simple sandwich, you can sit with yourself in silence and feel at peace, not because the world remembers you, but because you recognize the person you have quietly, repeatedly chosen to be. In that stillness, far from applause and away from the noise, you finally understand. Staying grounded is not about resisting change. It is about guiding it, gently, back toward the truth that was always there. That being fully human is worth more than being perfectly admired.